All right, 7 o'clock. Go ahead and start. Call to order the May 16, 2023 Pendleton Board of Zoning Appeals. Do a roll call vote starting to my left.
Gary Burmeister.
Kyle Icorn.
Jenny Sisson.
James King.
All right, we have a quorum. On your drive are the minutes from the previous meeting, and I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
We have a motion. We have a second.
I second that.
All right, motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Old business, no old business. New business, V 0516-2023-01, variance from development standards, 201 East Water Street.
Good evening. Good to see you all. I'm going to take the first agenda item tonight, which is the petition by Becca Harbert for the Pendleton lockup storage. And then for our next agenda item, Hannah Rose is going to take that over for the BZA rules update. So
Can I stop you for a minute? Do
absolutely.
we want to approve previous minutes or did we just did that? I'm sorry.
Oh,
That's okay. Brain farts happen.
I rolled
Something
my
that went-
strike that,
You voted?
please. I did.
Quite okay. But this is regarding the property at 201 East Water Street. All the documents have been submitted. All the notice requirements have been provided and taken care of. All of those documents are provided in your Google Drive for you. So we do have Becca here tonight as petitioner, and we also have Steve Wills as well. So we'll go ahead and provide you, what the petition and what they're asking for. And we'll kind of give you some little bit of details about the site and so forth. And then we'll provide some staff comments on that. And then if you have any questions for Becca, or Becca wants to add anything to it, we'll invite her to come up and share with the board as well. So for this particular parcel, we did address this at our November BZA meeting. They had petitioned for a variance to allow a land use variance that are very, very unique. But we felt that, and the board felt that this was a very appropriate for this particular property. They have storage units, which was allowed in that permitted that business district and the planned business district. And things had changed with the zoning, and that use was no longer allowed on that property, but they had expressed interest in expanding that storage unit operation on the property, and was granted that variance. For this particular parcel, it's about 1.66 acres, pretty small, nestled in between the park there off of Water Street and Hollowell Drive there to the north. And it is a legal non-conforming use of land there. There was conditions that were applied and approved for that variance, and those conditions include installing a fence around the perimeter of the property, paving the inside of the fenced area once the building constructions are complete, and that they would provide a restrictive use to that gate on the north end to limit a lot of in and out for those nearby property owners. To the west property line there, you'll see that we have a primary electric utility that runs down that west property line. There's one that is primary that is to the south, and then more towards the north end of that west property line, there is secondary electric utility poles there that service the park is what is being serviced there. And then also just recently installed there at the railroad embankment there on the west side, there is a stormwater system that was put in place about 1.5 years ago when they did the Water Street improvements there for that project. And as far as on the north end, you'll see it's kind of a no exit road there at Hollowell Drive. And there along just right north of that property line, there is a stormwater easement that runs there between the property and the drive, the pavement there. And then it's just basically a public right-of-way area that is behind that property. To the north. Those are kind of the current use and site details. Next, we'd like to provide you with what they are seeking. So for their variance, they're asking for a variance from development standards. They're asking two requests. So for a neighborhood business, there is a 10-foot setback requirement for side and rear property lines. So any type of structure, and what they are proposing to build would be an accessory structure. It's not going to be primary. It's not going to fall within those requirements that have that front facade requirements of, say, the minimum of 3 materials and so forth. So they are buildings that will be behind that front primary structure, but they're wanting to build a unit there at the north on that west property line. It's I think it's an 18 by 80 foot storage unit. Then behind that is the 15 by 80 foot storage unit there in the blue. And then a third structure they would like to put along the back end of the property line. So on that west property line, they are seeking a 4-foot setback allowance. So instead of 10 feet, they would like to be able to build and to allow some movement space in between their other structures and other buildings there within the grounds there. But they would like to build 4 feet from the property line. The building to the north, they're asking if they can build on the property line. So that would be a 0 setback. And then, as you can see, they would enclose those buildings with a fence. So where there is not a building, a fence would be to enclose that and make that a very secure facility. With those improvements, if they are permitted, there would be on the west end between those structures anywhere between 20 and 27 feet from what I can guess there on GIS that they would have for their vehicles to move in and out. That is the reason why they're asking for this variance, to give space for those leases, those storage unit renters to be able to access their units a little bit more comfortably. And then on the rear end, between that most north existing storage unit, between that and the proposed building, there would be about, I believe that was also somewhere around 25 feet there. And then also wanted to bring to your attention that if they do build on the property line there to the north, then there's still about 12 feet between that property line and the pavement. So there's there's quite a bit of space right in there. And then from road end to the other end there of Hollowell, there's about 50 feet. So it's a pretty deep easement as it stands. They are proposing to do a seam metal standing seam metal panel as the material. The construction documents, initial construction documents, are in your Google Drive for review. They have consulted with Frederick's Construction, here, a local company that would be installing these units, and the material is an approved material, for the building. So there's no other variance that is needed other than the setback requirements. Does anyone have any questions as far as just the site itself and what the petitioner is asking before we provide kind of our staff comments on that? Or?
I think we talked, Steve, maybe the last time you were in front of us about the rear gate being big enough to get emergency apparatus in through both gates. Just to make sure we can do that in case we ever have a problem back there.
Right.
That's the main reason for it. Construction.
Denise, can I have clarification on the property north at the end of Hollowell? I forget if that's a garage or a home. If you, the previous slide.
So right north on the other side of the Hollowell Drive.
Right. No.
There. Yeah, that is a home. There is a home that's tucked away in there. It sets back pretty deep. I would say probably 100 feet maybe. I'm maybe off on that though, but that is a residential home. Also, that neighbor, and I believe that's what you had expressed in the application, that they do not have an opposition to this. They felt like that the building and the enclosure with the fence created more security for the facility and for them, and they did not have any opposition to the petition.
And the height of the 10 by 120 unit that's highlighted in yellow on the
Yes.
next slide, is it taller than that neighbor's home?
No, that's a 2-story home. I would say it's probably pretty close to about 30 feet, and it has like a decking around the top and a basement that's exposed at the. What's that?
Farm road.
Mhm.
Oh,
Yes,
it's the
yes.
barn house.
Yes, 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 yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I thought,
Yes.
usually
And I
I
think
tried to
it's-
drive by it before, but okay.
And I apologize, it's slipping me. I believe that the height of the construction of the proposed buildings is about what, 10, 11 feet? I think it's somewhere right in there. So yeah, so it'd be significantly less.
There's a point for that house, their Hollowell Drive ends just past that house in question's driveway. The pavement for Hollowell.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the reason, just for
Yeah,
clarification,
yeah,
the
absolutely.
offsets or setbacks, especially with accessory dwelling units, is just the space for light and not overpowering because the discussions with the heights.
So that kind of stimulates a question in my mind, right where the fence is coincidental with the back of the building, how tall is it there? Or how the plans to be, is it a shed style roof or, so it'll be taller inside than in the back?
Right.
The roof is higher, okay.
Yeah, most of it's gonna face undeveloped. I mean, yeah, like Steve said, the street stops, what, 20 or 30 feet west of the east end of the existing
Mhm.
building. It doesn't go very
Yeah.
far back there.
Yeah.
so.
It's a very deep and kind of woodsy, pretty thick and nice, yeah, nice tree scape there.
We don't have any plans of extending all of that.
Yeah.
No-
we have
no
to
place-
go right
no
into the
place
barn
to go,
pick
so.
up, yeah.
Yeah,
And I remember in their original petition, they had expressed interest in on that west wall of the storage unit, maybe making it kind of a mural or like a story, start like a faux type window type thing to be appeasing to the park side.
Is that something then that you would coordinate with the park to make sure that the mural goes along with their theme that they're doing in the park?
I mean, I could. You don't need to.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Sorry.
I could, I wouldn't necessarily, I mean, I definitely wouldn't do anything that the park would be opposed of because I don't have any reason to make enemies. But yeah, it would mainly just be like to give, instead of just having a blank building, they would just have these faux windows. And because it's next to the park and I like kids, I'm a mom, they would have like fun window or fun little latches that they could open. And then there would be like a storyboard in it with like plexiglass. That is hard to explain. Sorry.
No, I
Yeah.
understand. I can
Okay.
visualize it.
Okay.
Okay.
That was our idea, to kind of add something as opposed to just looking at this plain building from the park. Because if I go to the park, I don't really want to see just a plain building, but that would make sense.
and we discussed the faux windows at the previous meeting. So you have a fence between those two buildings. It looks like on this sketch, it's on the property line.
It is on that, it is in this sketch. I'm
But
sorry, I
everything
don't
would be
have a new
off.
sketch for
No,
you,
it's
but
fine.
yeah.
So, but you're just, the fence would be just between the buildings, not all.
Right,
the
it would be,
entire-
yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
Their property line pretty much comes up to about the center of that railroad hillside.
Okay.
West
Oh.
side.
It's actually on the west side of the railroad, so right around where those, where the power line.
It's right on the,
poles are.
yes, it's right
Yeah.
on the other side of the power
Yeah.
lines, right? Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. Yes. Yeah, and and we did have some discussions on that. They will have to cut into the hillside for a little bit for the buildings there. You know, Correct. Yeah, a little bit into that. And we've talked to the park department and we have some comments to make on that. Yeah. Mhm. Do you have any other questions for this time?
Nothing right now, I don't think.
Okay,
Sorry.
yeah, no, yeah, you're fine. Yeah, great. So, as staff, we feel that the properties boarding this proposed development is very limited. We have Falls Park that's there to the west, which then just includes then that utility easement there. To the north, we just have the kind of the dead end, no exit road, Hollowell Drive. It has just the one neighbor. Actually, the neighbor to the east did attend the last meeting and expressed support of that development as well. And there's just public right of way, some green space there and a utility easement that would be easily preserved there, we feel. We talked with staff, we met with the electric department supervisor, also met with the parks department supervisor, Aaron Burris, just discussed some of our questions as staff, just to make sure that these utilities and their concerns were noted and brought to your attention. So as a planning department, we would like to ask, just because of where that property line sits at the very top of that hillside. We have some surveys that they have provided, but they are a little bit dated. We would like and feel more comfortable to be able to know the exact location of that property line and know that whatever variance, if a variance is granted, that we know that we're within that variance. Right now, it's not a state survey. So we would like to present that as a consideration to the board to require a state survey, boundary survey there to mark those public utilities anywhere from give or take of about 25 feet of that hillside property line. Iron pins, I did not see any when I was there. I don't know if there is iron pins still existing from an existing survey, but if not, it would be great to be able to have those replaced, and even some wooden stakes with the ribbon to be able to know exactly when they cut into that hillside and those utilities that there's no encroachment there. The electric department met with Craig Switzer. He, as well as Donnie Meyer and Aaron Burris, had met with the petitioners and I think maybe a representative from Fredericks, and had some great discussions, being able to kind of plan for this and give them insight and input as well. But speaking with Mr. Switzer, the two poles to the north, the two electric poles to the north on that west property line, they would like for those to be removed. And there was some discussion that Fredericks could possibly remove those and put an underground line there that could still service the park shelter house that is getting, that's how they're getting their source of electric there. If those can be removed, I believe Fredericks was going to install some type of a meter base there onto a structure to be able to keep that source with energy and be able to keep the utility count on that for that meter. But if that can be built, as well as Fredericks or a contractor digging a trench and putting in the conduit for the wire, our department would be willing to place the wire at no cost. Also, they have offered to remove those two poles at no cost as well, if that is done. However, they are requesting one difference in what is being proposed to you tonight as far as that 4-foot setback. They would like to have 5 feet setback. They feel that that is more, they would not have the concern that if the power lines were to fall on a metal building, that they felt like that 5 feet difference between that structure to the west to that property line would be more comfortable for them. And also, in talking with the, as far as the Parks Department, with cutting into that hillside, they would like to have it supported with a reinforced wall of some sort to give some stability so there's no erosion, there's not a loss of that hillside there. And so they have expressed that request. And also too, we want to make sure that there's no negative impact onto their property from the stormwater runoff. So they asked for some control measures there and asked to have the on-property inlets to be connected into the stormwater infrastructure that was just put into place here in this last year. I believe that your property's already been tied into that as well. So they would like to have some proper runoff controls there to give all that discharge to go off onto their property and not onto the parks. So those are the requests that we have kind of pulled together and, for petitioner as well as you to consider. And if you have any questions, more than happy to.
So you said that you're gonna bury the 2 north power poles, but then they want 5 foot from the power pole.
So the 5 feet is just from the north primary pole that is going to still stay in place. I'm
Okay.
sorry, did not make that
No,
clear.
that's fine.
So the most,
So it looks like there's
not
3
north,
poles
there's
starting
3
from
poles.
Water Street.
So the most south one will stay in place, it's primary, and they are asking for a 5 feet setback between that pole that will remain in place and their west,
So there'll be a drop on that first pole and then it'll be underground from there.
yes, that is correct, yes.
Because
And
it
then
looks like that pole's up there by the office in front,
It is.
not by the new.
Counting one by the office is 4.
Okay,
Okay. It's pretty much kind of in line, if you can go back to the zoning picture, primary line. No, not it. So here's the front building,
Mhm.
and then they've got that attached maintenance barn. It's pretty much, say, maybe in the center of that, going towards the park there is where that primary pole they would like to keep in place. They can't remove that. It's been there for about 35 years. he said, so. But then there's 2 more to the north on that west property line that Fredericks has indicated that they can put underground and still service.
So instead of 4 feet, it's gonna be 5 feet.
That is what the town and electric department is asking.
Does that affect you greatly?
We can do 5 feet.
and then as far as the cut, how much grade change do you think? How big of a wall is that gonna be?
4 feet on the blue.
That's the middle one.
Okay,
The red one's roughly the gray. And by the park, we offered that fill to the north of the blue and that yellow building. We offered part of that fill to the park. To make that blue building to gray. and make a walk. They're not interested in doing this. So that gray hillside on the blue building about the same.
so it would just
On the backside.
on the backside. So you'd have a retaining wall, like a 3 to 4 foot drop, and then the building would be,
They'll actually be the retaining wall would be the on the foundation. And that side of the blue, from the park, the side of the blue building would be short.
okay, so there's not gonna, I was concerned there would be like a hazard there, but it's gonna all be level. Okay,
Ground like it is now up to the building, the metal building, level. Just the concrete wall and.
Okay.
It just wouldn't be as tall. The metal, you wouldn't have as much metal on the backside. Building itself.
and then you'll collect the roof runoff and direct it to storm sewers.
You know, we have 2 storm sewers from our property. Bridge storm sewer goes straight with the property line, and parallels our property line. and connects to the new sewer.
So are you agreeable to the conditions that they've stated here? So the, having the stake survey, relocation of the two northernmost utility poles, the 5-foot setback, the reinforced wall, and then collecting your stormwater. Those are all things that,
Is that maybe the town would be one of the homes? Whether it's set
they,
bigger base.
and run the conduit,
Run the
and they would
conduit.
pull the,
Town, pole water, town.
I think the town's gonna pull it, right?
Town.
He said today. If they could have the 5 feet set. The only thing I would ask is if it's possible to not get a state survey, that would be great, because those are really expensive and I've contacted a lot of people. Most people don't even want to touch it. I don't know if there are any other documents I can show you about where the property line is. I can show you the deed where the property was, where the railroad property was bought. I don't know. I would just have to add it into my budget to know if it's possible for me to still do this after I add in the survey. So.
Anybody have thoughts on?
But we have a survey, it's just dated, correct?
Right.
But they.
And the
it's
pins
not
aren't,
marked.
the pins aren't recoverable.
That's
so-
not marked, it's not staked, so they don't know, you're just kind of, and it's just for that parcel only, and it doesn't show any topography or, so that's,
So it's not marked, I guess.
it's, yeah, there's no marking. And with being a hill, it kind of makes a little bit.
So you mentioned that the state's survey is very costly.
Is that different than a normal survey?
A state
Yes.
survey.
Or is that, am I
Um,
missing
It's just a,
something?
just a boundary survey.
It's
And
a
then
boundary
they would
survey.
set pins or
Yes,
mark
they
pins
set.
they find.
Yeah.
Okay,
Instead of just going off documents to the recorder's office, they'll
Mhm.
actually come and they'll walk the property, they'll measure, and then they'll stake it.
okay.
Yeah, I feel like if it's a 4-foot setback, you really need to know where
Yeah,
it's
that's
at.
pretty close.
You don't want to inadvertently build your building on town property and have a title issue. So,
think the fact that there's utilities all along that west border.
and you wouldn't need a full boundary survey, we're just,
Yeah, okay.
just the west
Yes, just the
line.
west,
So
the
that could go
west
with
property.
cost.
That will be more doable.
And if there's stakes out in the road, sometimes there are that will be helpful for them. Usually there's some in the
Kind
center.
of like a rebar,
Uh-huh.
piece of rebar.
Yeah.
Most of our roads have them in the center, so it'll help.
And it might be a thing when surveyor comes out, he would find that.
All right, so I guess we need to discuss the findings of fact. So the approval will not be injurious to public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. So I think as staff discussed, it's kind of a unique property. We've got town, railroad, old railroad corridor on the west side, and then a dead end road on the north side. So I feel like reducing the setbacks to those properties really doesn't affect.
And what they're building around, I think, improves safety since it's right by a park,
Sure.
it's enclosed.
Yeah.
And that back gate with access for emergency search situations. But it keeps kind of others out who shouldn't be in there. So I think it improves, so it meets that.
Yeah, and then the use and value of the area adjacent will not be affected substantially adverse manner. I mean, they're already using that property for storage.
I think it
So-
would improve how it looks around there too.
Yeah.
Because if I remember correctly, you're gonna switch from storing construction equipment, things like that, to RVs and cars, boats and things, so.
And then the strict application of the ordinance results in practical difficulties. So, and I think we discussed that in November meeting, the size and shape and orientation of the building, these reduced setbacks make sense on the property. The variance granted is the minimum necessary, so based on the distances you discussed to the other buildings, I think that that's met. And then does not correct a hardship caused by a former or current owner. I don't think that applies here.
I don't think so either.
So. And the petitioner is agreeable to the conditions. Is there any other discussion?
So you agree with the 5 feet, you agree to.
Yeah,
Survey.
5 feet. And I can do a survey with the west line at least. Yeah. And if it's not much more to get the whole thing, I'll try to get the whole thing.
Good to have, just
Yeah.
one reference.
Right. And we'll just need that before we issue the building permit. So, yeah, whenever you're ready.
All right, all right, well, I guess I'll entertain a motion.
Kyle, have we opened it up to any public
Oh,
comment?
Public
on this?
comment, okay, yeah, I guess I'll open it up to anybody in the audience.
4 by 100 meter relay.
Or is there anybody online?
60.38 set back in 2016 by Long North.
All right, looks like we have nobody to speak. Okay. All right, I will entertain a motion to approve V 05/16/2023-01 with the conditions presented, which are boundary survey of the west property line, the relocation of the utility poles as we discussed, 5-foot setback from that primary utility, and the reinforced wall for the blue building, and stormwater runoff must drain onto the petitioner's property.
I make a motion to approve.
Oh, public comment. May I?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
The yellow building, you only have a shed roof,
Mm-hmm.
and about the middle of the yellow building on Hollowell Drive is an existing inlet on our side of Hollowell Drive. And the only runoff it gets now, it used to get a lot because it came from Water Street and behind the alley all the way up. And that connects diagonally to the new storm, so there's no problem between there and the new storms.
Correct, yes.
So that, I guess I'd request the yellow building be allowed to run off into that swale that's existing now.
Which is collected by the storm system.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think that's fine.
Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And
that'd
the
be-
park was just seeking for that west
Right.
property. Yeah,
So
yes, yeah, that was.
we've got 2 inlets over there.
Any more public comment? I make a motion to approve V 05/16/2023-01.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion and second. Any discussion on the motion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, now we've got rules updates. Are you excited?
That's what you think.
So, on your G drive, if you want to follow along with me, we'll go page by page. Hopefully this will go quickly. So I have outlined the things I would like to change in yellow, and then update to the green highlighted text. So I'll start on page 2, because that's where the first things I identified need to change. So I'm going to go through each one of these, and if you have any problems, let me know, or I'm just going to assume it's okay, and then we'll vote at the end to update it. So 1.4 director, the definition says director means planning director of the Town of Pendleton Board of Zoning Appeals. It doesn't need to say Board of Zoning Appeals because I'm not the director of this board. Section 153.05 of the zoning ordinance is from our old code. We need to update that to the Unified Development Ordinance. That code no longer exists. Jeff suggested in the secretary section where it defines that that person technically doesn't have to be non-voting to just update the language to be a little more clear. There was a typo on vice chairman. We need to change the other chairman to defined, not vice chairman, chairman. So, anything on that? Good, excellent, okay. We'll move on to page 4. The regular meeting used to be Wednesdays at 7. It is now Tuesday, so I'm going to update that. The appearances section 3.4, you'll see in yellow, there's some kind of some older language on who needs to be present to present the petition. We now have Zoom available as well. So that green section is basically just copy and pasted from Planning Commission. It says the property owner, the petitioner, their agent, their counsel can represent them here or via Zoom, as well as anyone who wants to support or remonstrate can also do that in person via Zoom by agent or counsel. I also added the petition may be tabled or continued. We don't necessarily table a lot of things anymore because then we have to renotice it. Continuing makes it where we don't have to do that. Okay, moving right along. Next, we have page 6. So on presentations, where the director presents the staff report, and this is defined by the UDO. The director is the administrator or their designee, so it doesn't necessarily just have to be this position. So I wanted to add board members may direct questions to the director for anything, and then the petitioner comes up and they also can be asked questions. Okay, Jeff suggested in procedural rules, it references Robert's rules to change that from govern to guide because it is a really extensive and hard to, I think, use document, something like that, but I don't think there's anything else. There's just that, so. All right, page 7, the agenda. We do have mailboxes here at Town Hall, but we use the we use email or the G Drive to put the agenda for board members to look at before the meeting. So just adding that. And then also the agenda being posted or available to board members. This only had regular meetings on it. So we added 2 days before special meeting, that agenda has to be available for board members. Next, the rule 4. So this is all about the applications. Excuse me. We added the words conditional use. It wasn't in here, even though it is something that the Board of Zoning Appeals dictates. So in C there under filing requirements, I want to just make it clearer that this is the director shall determine if it's for a variance of use, a variance of development standards, or a conditional use. Language is a little wonky right now. Next is noticing requirements. So we provide the radius of addresses that people have to send to via a GIS program that the county gave us for buffering around, whether it's 150 feet or in Planning Commission's case, 300 feet. So we just added that language in there that we provide that for you. Last one is page 11. So wanted to just clarify the forms that we have. So variance from development standards, special use is variance of use. Hey Jeff, I have a question for you on special exceptions and contingent use. We don't have those, do we?
Right, so they should be stricken out of the rules.
Okay, that's what I was figuring, since we don't have that anymore, or maybe we never had it, I don't know.
You'll renumber 5, 6, and 7. I assume.
And yeah, leave 5, 6, and 7.
Well, they'll be renumbered.
Correct.
3, 4, and 5.
Correct. So also to that point, for special exceptions, there is one more that I caught on page Maybe I will find it. Oh, yes, sorry, page 8. The title, it says variance, conditional use, exceptions and appeals. I'd like to remove exceptions because we don't do special exceptions. It's a variance of some sort. So just taking that out of the title. And then there might be one more area under filing requirements that I spelled wrong.
So the word exception also appears in 4.1A. Does it need to be taken out of it?
Yes, we should remove the word exception, or what's the other one, contingent use from anywhere in the document. So I can do that as a whole, yes, special exception and or contingent use, if I happen to find it anywhere else.
4.2 says filing requirements.
Yes,
Reordinance. I can tell it doesn't work.
thank you for calling out my dyslexia yet again, Kyle. Yes, so I will remove anything that talks about that and fix that typo. So if there's any questions on any of those corrections, I'm not, I believe these were last updated in 2005, so they were due for it. If I happen to find anything else in the meantime, I will let you guys know at the next meeting.
Are the subsequent forms updated as well to have the same language?
Oh, yes. Yeah, those were updated first when the UDO went into place.
But the form, I know that there was information regarding the list of, where was that? The list of neighbors, the addresses. And I know that was updated that we would
Yeah,
get,
we updated that via
But that-
resolution.
that form was, I feel like it was on that checklist.
Let's see, so the 150-foot perimeter
Yes.
of, so, I mean, we did update that they could use not only certified mail, but a certificate of mailing via resolution 2201. So that's referenced in here. Is that what you're
Okay.
talking
But
about?
no, that, but along with, I thought there was language that list, where that list was obtained in one of those forms as well.
In the applications.
Yes,
Oh, yes, yeah, we've changed it in there.
okay,
Because of how it was.
because I
in
know
the
when I
UDO.
started to pull it
Yes.
out,
Yeah,
I know it was wrong.
yeah, I think
And
that
I-
came first. That was
Okay.
the chicken and this is the egg. kind of
Okay,
thing,
I just
so-
wanted to make sure that,
Probably did that in the 2023.
Yeah, I
Okay.
figured it a while ago.
I just didn't have the name of the different documents.
Mhm. Yep,
Okay.
that is on the applications that it'll be provided by the planning department.
Okay.
Yep. All right, anything else on those?
So you'll bring the updated to the next meeting?
Yep, for you to sign.
Okay.
I thought I got it all with this one. I missed a few things.
Any other discussion on the rules? Any public comment?
I told you it was riveting.
Everything I hoped it would be.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second
Wait,
that.
we got adjourn?
No,
We got
have
vote.
to vote on these.
You have to vote on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, on the
Even though
rules?
you're going to.
Oh, I thought you were gonna bring the
That's
new
what I
ones to the
thought.
next meeting.
Oh, no, you can,
That's the sign.
that's the sign. You can vote to
Ah, okay.
update this and I will,
Based on our discussion.
yes.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the BZA rules updates.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second,
the-
all right, motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Now you can adjourn.
All right, now I'll entertain a motion. All right, motion and second, meeting